Welcome to Azigos, where we talk raw, real, and unfiltered about the trucking industry, the good, the bad, and the broken. But we don't just leave it there. We help those ready to reclaim and drive the future of the trucking industry. Today, we have another great episode for you. We are going to be discussing the difference between distribution centers and warehouses and why it matters. So come on into the lounge with us today. That's Azigos, the Truckers Lounge. How are you doing today, Kevin?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing excellent. Did you have a great weekend?
I did everything that a typical truck driver would do once he parked the truck and parked them brakes. So you can only imagine.
Excellent. So you survived another week on the road as a carrier, as a truck driver?
Oh yeah, it's a thin line between life and death as a trucker.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, yes ma'am.
Okay, so today, as I mentioned, we're going to have another great episode. We're going to be discussing the difference between warehouses and distribution centers and why it matters. And why does it matter? Well, it matters because time is money and money is time. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely need to be aware of the differences between a distribution center and your average run-of-the-mill warehouse.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the episode. So, Kevin, in the context of being a carrier, tell us what is a warehouse.
Well, me typically, I try to when I look for loads on the load board, I kind of try to single out the warehouses because 9 times out of 10, when you're dealing with a warehouse, it's more direct in their attentions. You know, you don't have to deal with the chaos, the controlled chaos. So when you go into a warehouse, you can one thing is usually it's a space of time where you can show up, you know, hypothetically, like you got from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. to show up and pick up the load. Anytime you see them tight time periods, you know you're dealing with a regular warehouse. When you're dealing with exact times, you're dealing with something else. And usually when you're dealing with a warehouse, it's convenient for you to be able to more than likely get out of there in a timely manner.
Okay, and so
It's
let's
not 100% though,
all
but
right,
more than that.
more than that. Okay,
Right.
and so in contrast, let's compare it to the distribution center and its operations and how it differs.
The distribution center, like I said, that's like a conglomerate, something huge. You know, it's chaotic. You know, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to be there at a specific time. If you're not there before that time, I mean, not even on time. If you're not there before that time, that can make an extreme situation become savagely. You know, when you're talking about dwell time. So they don't even have to adhere to the 2 hour rule and not press to do it if you're not there on time. Distribution centers, you're usually going to deal with dwell time when you're dealing with distribution centers because they're dealing with a much larger market. Yeah.
So obviously, for this to be a topic, it's relevant and it's important because it can really impact a carrier's schedule. It can impact their hours of service. It
Right.
impacts time, which means it's going to impact their money, which is very important in a carrier's life. So there should be some strategies a carrier should consider when selecting loads and trying to decide whether or not they should pick a load that's going to take them to a warehouse versus a distribution center. So let's highlight some of those strategies a carrier should consider and implement when selecting loads. Would you help us with that, Kevin?
Well, I already gave you a couple of strategies, but I don't want to just paint a broad stroke. It's
Okay.
some distribution centers, they run real well. They get you out of there, in a timely manner. But the thing is, you don't know which cookie has the poison in it.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me?
Okay.
That's a reason why, hopefully tools can be available so you can get real-time data, seeing how fast they're getting their truckers or the loads in and out for that particular time period that you might want to consider it. When you're dealing with the regular warehouse, it's not so as sensitive for you to know real time action, because more than likely, like I said before, you're dealing with a much smaller capacity of materials, and they usually try to get you in and out because they're not dealing with all the chaotic. You talking about the difference of 10 loads that day to 200 and 300 loads that day when you're talking about a warehouse versus a distribution center. So the typical strategy I use,
Mm-hmm.
especially if I say I book a load for Monday, going to a particular area, I like to be able to already have my backhaul in mind so I can see the money on how much the overhead will be for me to go down and back coming from that particular warehouse. Well, if I book a distribution center, I don't really like to book a load coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I usually wait till after I actually leave that distribution center before I try to look and find a load. What you're talking about now, timing is great, and you never know if it's going to be a load available for you to be able to get it, to get back to wherever you're trying to go to, and still have your hours of service.
Because it's a little bit more volatile when you're dealing with a
It's
distribution
way more
center.
volatile when you're dealing with a distribution center.
Do they have a tendency to prioritize certain, carriers or loads over others when you are going to a distribution center? Because I can imagine they may prioritize sort of your bigger companies than, excuse me, than your smaller, one-man carrier companies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, more times and not, you have bigger companies that might have contracts with that particular warehouse shipper and receiver. So of course they're going to get priority versus someone who has just
That distribution center.
the distribution center. Really, that's any warehouse, any business. You're gonna give priority to the ones that you do regular business with.
Mhm.
So yeah, that could put you at a disadvantage as well when dealing or trying to book your loads.
Okay. Is there usually a difference in pay rate between booking a load with a distribution center versus a warehouse, or not necessarily?
Yeah, it is, because me personally, when negotiating with a particular broker, um, I leave a little money on the table if I'm going to a warehouse.
Really?
I'll leave a little money because I know that it's a good chance that I'm going to be able to come in and out of that facility. In direct opposite, when I'm dealing with distribution centers, I'm not. Matter of fact, I want extra money
Okay.
because it's a high probability that if I go to a distribution center, I might spend, a day there. I might lose a whole day
Hmm.
dealing with a distribution center. So it's going to kill me if I don't get in and out of there at a timely manner.
Okay.
And
So,
a timely manner with dealing with trucking is 2 hours.
all right. So then that raises another issue: detention pay.
Detention pay.
So
Right.
is one more likely to pay the detention pay over another, or is it really dependent upon the broker you're dealing with?
Yeah, it's really dependent on the broker, because the broker in all actuality is not even shouldn't be relative whether that particular facility pays the detention or not. The
Okay.
broker in good faith should, if he's trying to keep a good relationship with you, he or she, they should pay the detention regardless and go get their money later.
But that
So,
doesn't always happen, I imagine.
no, it doesn't. It's each case is different. Each case is separate. You have carriers, who have better relationship with brokers, with this particular broker than the other. If y'all been doing a lot of business together, a lot of times the broker might be like, don't, make sure that you taken care of and happy so he can depend on you on a later load. And that's not to say, because you got to be on your hustle and you got to always have your thinking cap on. There's been times where it go over, but if I done good business with a particular broker, sometimes I won't even worry about the detention.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna let small things get in the way of, a good relationship.
Okay.
It just depends on how diabolical that wait time has been.
Okay.
Right.
Right. Now, another thing that can really influence this, I imagine, and you touched on this a little bit, is about the operations, and how the scheduling and really the dock workers at these facilities can really impact how you get in and out. So, I've heard horror stories before about how a change in shift, depending on when you arrive, and there's a change in shift at the dock workers at the warehouse versus a distribution center, you could end up getting caught up between a change in shift that can
Right.
delay your time even more. How more likely are you to get caught up in that scenario at a distribution center versus a warehouse where there's a change in shift? Maybe you could have been 5 minutes a little bit too early or 5 minutes a little bit too late from your original appointment. And now you have to sit and wait because there's a shift change on the dock workers. And now that's going to put you behind. Are you more likely to incur that at a distribution center or a warehouse?
You more likely to deal with that at where you're going to be aware of it. You're gonna more likely deal with that at a regular warehouse, because on the shift change at a detention distribution center. I'm about to say detention. It's like detention, right? Yeah, at a distribution center, you have so much limited access to see what's going on behind closed doors. So that shift change could affect you mightily, but you will never know because you don't really see anything behind the receiving office. A lot of distribution centers, you might not even go into a receiving office. Everything automated, and you dealing with it like you talking over the intercom or some things like that. Because a lot of distribution centers, they know that they're not running efficiently. So to keep down confrontation between the drivers, they try to limit the access.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
Right.
So that raises another question. We know this industry, or really any industry, can either improve efficiency a lot based on relationships, right? And
Right.
so, if you see that things are running efficient and you show up at a facility, maybe you want to slip a couple of dollars to the dock workers. That's, hey man, could you bump me up? Could you load and unload me so I can get in and out of this facility? It sounds like that scenario isn't going to be as possible at a distribution center as it would be at a warehouse. And have you ever done that before? And has that worked for you?
Oh, any experienced carrier, you keep cash on you at all times.
Okay.
That's definitely a strategy that I use, depending on what I'm trying to get done. I keep cash on me at all time because, the workers, a lot of times the dock workers are overworked and underpaid. And so they appreciate you, looking out for them in a small manner. Just
Okay.
a couple of dollars for them to, treat you like a name and not a number.
All right. So any other tips you want to
Yeah,
leave us with?
definitely, because like I said before, me, when I'm on the load board, I got little ways to kind of determine beforehand. whether it's a distribution center or whether it's a regular warehouse. But me being out there so long, I pretty much know the lay of the land. But, it's a lot of money that I miss out on where you have distribution centers that do run efficiently, that get you in and out, and it's paying well. But, it's hard to determine that, just looking from the load board. That's why, like I said, man, it's important. We are, as carriers and truckers, we need to really start focusing on and demanding data, and we may be providing that data so we can stop working at a disadvantage and kind of leverage some of these things, because nobody is going to feel sorry for you if you don't take the initiative for yourself, driver.
Do you want to take a chance and shout out a couple of some of the better warehouses or distribution centers, or we want to hold off on that for another day?
Yeah, I can tell you the one. I can tell you the horror stories, and really down in the comments, you can give your horror stories, driver.
Okay.
But you can't pay me to go to a Kroger's distribution center. I don't care what state it is.
Okay.
If it's not a load of water, cases of water, you can't pay me to go to a Target distribution
Ooh.
center.
No to Kroger's, no to Target.
No to Target. That's just two right off the top of my head.
Okay.
Distribution centers that run pretty well.
Yes.
I could say maybe Chewy, up there in the Carolinas.
Okay.
They but guess what? If you ain't there on time, you gonna be trapped with that load on your back. And if you don't have no extra trailers, you probably gonna hold on to that load for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Another distribution center that does okay. It ain't many.
Okay. But like you said, that just points to the whole notion of, if there were a singular, platform where you guys could share that type of information, you all will be more empowered as a community of truck
I don't mean to
drivers.
cut you out, because
Mhm.
it's really it's a fluid situation.
Right.
It's a fluid situation. They have some days are better than others.
Yes.
Every dollar, every detail count.
Right.
So I wouldn't mind slipping in if I know Target having a good day.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind slipping in there and getting some of that money, but I'm not gonna do it blindly.
Well, given their low volume these days, it may be a good day. But we
Right.
won't go there.
I mean, I want to say one more thing. I just want to go a little bit more detail in the Kroger's.
Uh-huh.
Kroger's won't even give you your in and out times on your BOL. That's how savage. Yeah, that's how savage Kroger's is. They won't even give you an in and out time on your BOL.
Wow.
So they definitely need, drivers.
And that almost sounds like a topic for another episode about
Well,
how
yeah.
important it is to have that in and out time on your BOL.
Right, because in all honesty, definitely brokers are leveraging that, because they already not gonna pay you all the detention time that's been negotiated between them and that facility. They're only gonna give you half the money.
Okay.
But sometimes you leave it on the table. They still want to know your in and out times, because you don't want that money, they still gonna go get that money.
There you have it. All right. Any other tidbits, nuggets you want to leave the people with today?
Yeah, like I said, man, I want to end like every episode. When I came in the game, the truck driver who had the trucking company, he was able to take care of 3 or 4 families at a time, man. And that's my desire for us to get back to, man, because without us, we're no different than a third world country. So we need to figure out a way to come together, share experience, and in all actuality, somebody from amongst us start to get the data to show how much labor that we're providing that we're not getting paid for. There's more to trucking than just driving up the road.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel so we can share more facts and tidbits like we did today from our expert. Until next time, join us in the lounge. That's Izigos, the Truckers Lounge.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Remember, big trucks, big profits.
Thank you.
Thank you.